So the other big another big chunk of kind of class grade is the lab. So we will meet in room 124 of the science building every Wednesday at 11 a.m. We'll go till 1 p.m. We're generally going to use those 2 hours every week. You will need some personal protective equipment, some PPE in the lab room. The big ones are goggles and closed-toed shoes. You do need to have goggles. That means it's flush against your face with an elastic strap holding it against your face. And then closed-toed shoes need to wrap around the back of your foot and cover the top of your foot. So we can't be wearing clogs or Crocs, no sandals. We do need to be, we're looking for shoes that you can't easily take off. You also have to be covered and closed from your shoulder to your ankles. So no exposed abdomen, no exposed legs. This is to protect against spills, splashes, glass breaking and spraying around. Anything else you want to wear is up to you. If you want to wear gloves, if you want to wear, masks or something like that, anything like that, any sort of clothing, if you want to wear like long sleeves, it's probably recommended, good practice lab. It's also just going to be really cold in there. It might be hot, quite hot outside at the start of this class. It will be very, very cold in the lab room. It will stay that way the entire semester. You are going to work in lab groups that will be assigned to you. That'll happen. You'll know who they are when you get to campus on Wednesday. The lab will always be run. Each lab folder will have, each lab will have its own folder within the week modules. And there'll be all the handouts, all assignments related to any given lab will always be contained within there. Not this first week, because I don't want to have assignments due before your first ever lab, but generally there will always be 4 assignments for each lab. You'll have a pre-lab, technique comprehension, lab notebook, and post-lab. And then you'll get a 5th grade that's just attendance and participation, stuff like that. But those first 3 will be due before the Wednesday activity. So you're going to answer your pre-lab questions, your technique comprehension, and complete the lab notebook. And then you'll do the lab, and then the post-lab will be due on Sunday after the lab. So each week, you should be expecting roughly 4 assignments per lab. Now, when we don't have lab because of test, you're not going to have any assignments. So that was the pre-lab, technique comprehension, lab notebook, and post-lab are the 4 assignments. Then you have a lab participation and teamwork side of things. So those are the 5 kind of weekly things we're dealing with. That makes up 60% of your overall lab grade. And then at the end of the semester, we'll do a lab practical and a technique presentation. So most labs will not use the full 2 hours. Sometimes we'll stay in the lab room and we'll do some sort of separate self-contained activities. Oftentimes we'll move to a classroom and we'll do the activities. Sometimes we'll just move to the classroom. Sometimes we'll do an activity and then go to the classroom, and we'll have practice problems. These are generally going to be graded when we're staying in the lab. This is generally not graded when we're doing practice problems. And the practice problems will always be available. I'll make them available on Blackboard along with solutions. So those will be up. It's just opportunities to do. We have that extra time with the hybrid. I want to use it. And I find doing practice problems is really useful. Giving you an opportunity, one, to get kind of feedback in real time from me. And I've also found to interact with your peers, other people in the class. If you're just watching videos by yourself, you are naturally, when you're doing something, you're naturally going to compare your skill to other people around you. And so if you're in the classroom, or if you're watching videos by yourself, and then you compare it to how the only person to compare it to is me, right? And so who's giving the lecture? And of course, I'm not making mistakes because 1, I can edit, and 2, I know this stuff. I'm teaching it. I've taught this a lot. And so I'm not making mistakes in the material. I wrote the questions. I know the answer. And so, it can really kind of, I think, affect people's perception of how they're doing with the material in an average sense, really hard on themselves. And so I think having that experience of working with others and realizing other people are struggling with the same things you're struggling with, that you're all in the process of learning, so you don't all know everything yet, is, I think, a valuable part, a valuable thing, a thing that can be really tough in a fully online class, that a hybrid, you can flex this on-campus time to really take advantage of. At the end of the semester, you're going to make a presentation about how to do a lab technique. I will give more information, a lot more information as we get close. It's going to be really up to you. You'll pick a topic from a list, and you will either then make a video or give an in-person presentation about how to do that lab technique. Additionally, You will do a lab practical at the end of the semester. This will be an in-lab activity where you will work through stations of doing things that we did during the semester. Can you do different assignments, different activities, different parts of different things? Can you analyze sample data? That's the kind of stuff that we're looking at. And again, more information will be provided, more specifics will be provided as we get closer. This technique, the presentation, and this is happening in late November, early December. So I'll provide information in November about how to do them, what to expect on them. Just wanted to let you know that they're happening. But let's head to Blackboard. Yeah, let's go to Blackboard and see kind of where the lab stuff is.
So with all of labs going to run through Blackboard. So when we scroll down, we get to the week module. We open it, and we can see all this stuff pops up. But at the very top side is going to be a folder for lab. And when you open that, you'll see even more things. It's not shifted that far in as a lab, but which it was. And so you see all this stuff. There will be a lot more stuff in some future labs as there's more and more assignments. But you'll note for this first lab, for this week, we just need to come to campus on August 26th at 11 a.m., wear closed-toed shoes, be covered from abdomen down to ankles. I got goggles, but you can bring your own as well. I don't have any extra closed-toed shoes, and probably anything that would fit you. I have a lab handout, which you don't need to open, a lab notebook. You'll note there's a group. That's the group you're going to be assigned in, and then the post-lab assignment where it's going to be due. In future labs, between the handout and the notebook, we would have additional assignments, those pre-lab questions, that technique comprehension, that those will need to be submitted and answered by Wednesday at 11 a.m. But for this first week, we're just coming to lab and taking care of that. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. Otherwise, I think it's just tests. Yeah, there's just one more thing about tests. That's kind of our last assignment. Then we have kind of some wrap-up, big picture ones. See ya.